youth opportunity, health community, financial stability, and community resilience. We've all been in school before. We all know the pros and cons of what happens when we're in the school system. But most importantly, we want to make sure that every child is taken care of within all of these parameters and resources that we could provide. So with Rising Together specifically, we will be talking more about this in the next series, but we will be diving into the academies of Albuquerque and the future of education and what that looks like here for us in New Mexico. I'm tired. I don't know about you all, but I'm tired of being 50th. And so we are working hard and diligently with, we're working hard and diligently with APS to secure these. And then we also have our amazing donor group. So like I had mentioned, if you all are interested in getting more engaged with your community, please feel free to shoot me an email and I will connect you to our amazing donor group leads. We have Guys Give. If you've never built a pergola before, this is the place to be. Guys Give meets at different breweries every month, talk about making a difference and work towards domestic violence to support that. So they build, they drink beer, and it's great impact for the community. We have Hispano Philanthropic Society, Retire United, Women United, and Young Leaders Society. So we have a place for everyone, everywhere, no matter where you would like to go. And last but not least, we have grants. And this is where what we are truly going to be focusing on today for this presentation, and how we fund local nonprofits. Because back in the day, when United Way was just started, I'm sure you all know the game of Monopoly, right? I'm just going to say, yes, we all know Monopoly. There was a big community chest. This all started with a nun, 2 priests, and somebody else in the room. And no, this is not the start of a joke. This was the real beginning. Everyone came together and they said, hey, we have issues in our community. It's driving us nuts, though. We need to work together instead of against each other. So they all came into this room, got a big community chest, locked it on the table, and said, you go to your people, I'll go to mine. Let's come together, and then we'll divide and conquer. They provided all the funds raised, and subdivided it into different sections to provide basic needs for the community and everything that they needed. So with that, fast forward to 2026, when this started in about like 1905, that's not the right date, but I'm going to say in that day and age, that's when all of this begun. And we have been around for 90 years here at our own United Way, and we are gearing up for the next 90. And Sarah is going to bring you into the new beginning of what this looks like and how we impact our community. Before I hand it off to Sarah, I want to make sure to give you all some updates for this meeting. I will be recording this meeting so that way you could find it. And no fear, you don't have to take notes. I'm going to make this the easiest lunch hour of your life. You just want to listen, zoom in. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, please feel free to add it in the chat. And during the Q&A after, I will bring them up for Sarah and we will get those questions answered for you. Feel free to go wild and add in any gifs and oohs and ahs or anything throughout this chat. Let's keep it high level, let's keep it active, and let's keep it engaging, because that's what we're all here for, is to bring community closer one step at a time. So with that, it is my pleasure to introduce to you your speaker for today for our first launch of Mission in Motion, Sarah Earhart, Director of Community Investments. Sarah, take it on, girl.
Thank you, Ashley. Good afternoon, everyone. As Ashley said, my name is Sarah. I'm the Director of Community Investments with United Way of North Central New Mexico. I grew up in Albuquerque, and prior coming to United Way, all of my work was in education, specifically special education and early childhood work. And in my role now, I get to support our competitive grant cycle and build relationships with our grantee partners. I really love this work because it gives me the opportunity to engage with a really broad range of our partners as we explore the best way for United Way to support our local nonprofit network. In our time together today, I'm excited to tell you a bit about United Way's approach to grant making, how United Way invests in community solutions, and the real impact that those investments create. So if I could have you go back one, Ashley. Thank you. Community investments, one forward from there. Perfect. Community investments gets our donor dollars into the community, to agencies doing that vital work to support our families, friends, and neighbors. Each year, United Way of North Central New Mexico facilitates a community investment of over $2 million, dollars coming directly from donors in the areas of healthy community, youth opportunity, financial security, and community resiliency. Through a trust-based philanthropy lens, we are proud to award multi-year general operating impact grants and one-year general operating basic needs grants, as well as grants in these categories funded specifically by our donor groups. We focus not only on directing funding, but on being a support to the nonprofit community. We're working hard to remove barriers to promote equitable access to funding and are committed to support beyond just the check, including capacity building for our grantee partners. This year, United Way is funding over 70 community nonprofits, including Justice Code, which engages students in STEM learning and competition. They supported 12 student teams in attending local, regional, and national robotics and STEM competitions last year, and their teams won several national awards. One of their students had never been outside of New Mexico and was able not only to travel to the Midwest, but to compete in a robotics competition on a national stage. We fund United Voices for Newcomer Rights, which mobilizes resources and advances educational, economic, cultural, and health-focused initiatives to support newcomer well-being. This includes navigating education, housing, and other resources, as well as culturally responsive mental health support for both young people and adults. Our partners at the Indigenous Farm Hub, through the NACA Inspired School Network, are building a network of sustainable farm operations in urban, native, and rural communities across New Mexico, through hands-on training, mentorship, technical assistance. They also offer Farm to School initiative to bring middle and high school students to the farm to learn hands-on about Indigenous food systems. For a complete list of our grantees, please do visit our website. All right, so I mentioned that our grant making centers on the trust-based philanthropy model. Trust-based philanthropy focuses on equity and redistributing power within philanthropy to enable stronger partnerships and more effective grant making for our community agencies. With a commitment to shifting power, advancing equity, and building mutually accountable relationships, trust-based philanthropy positions funders as collaborators, working along nonprofits to meet the needs of communities who are often most removed from some of those conventional power structures. So trust-based philanthropy asks us to look at philanthropy through a lens of partnership. We really want to focus on the work being done and not creating additional administrative burdens wherever possible. As part of this work, we have introduced our multi-year grants, streamlined our grants application process. We offer flexible reporting options, and we are constantly working on building out our system of support beyond the check. Moving into our 5th year of work in this model, we've seen significant benefits, not only for the work of our grantee partners, but for the relationships developed. United Way is really proud to work within this model, particularly regarding our commitment to multi-year grants. We really feel that it's a best practice in philanthropy and allows us to be a stronger, more strategic partner. In the first 4 years of implementation, I want to share a bit with you about what we've learned from our community partners about the impact of this model. Agencies consistently cited multi-year funding as really crucial for long-term planning, budgeting, and setting goals. Predictable funding allows organizations to focus on impact rather than uncertainty. Multi-year grants enabled expansion into new communities, promoted sustained engagement, and allowed for piloting of new initiatives. Agencies could measure their outcomes more accurately, as client progress often spans multiple years. This multi-year model allowed agencies to respond to emerging needs, support their staff retention, and reduce time spent on annual applications and reporting. Agencies talk to us about appreciating the flexibility to address basic needs that can shift in the moment, and to leverage those funds as needed to meet the needs of their clients right now. And finally, multi-year funding signals strong partnership to other donors, so also supported further philanthropic engagement across the philanthropy network. But how else do we know it's working? In 2024-2025, our grantees impacted over 270,000 New Mexicans. That is 23% of the 5-county region that we serve. This impact came out of 43 impact grants, 16 basic needs grants, 10 grants specific to Santa Fe County, and another 9 grants funded by our donor groups.
And I just wanted to note here, for those of you who are unfamiliar with nonprofits and how it works, to Sarah's point about having that community impact, going back to the community chest example that I gave you earlier, this community and all of the community investment grants shows how far we can stretch your dollar. Rather than giving $20 once a month, we're able to give around $40,000 over 3-year periods to truly make a mark on these nonprofits. And with the trust-based philanthropy, truly giving them an opportunity to use that money in critical ways to enhance what they need, whether that be staffing or anything that couldn't be purchased with a grant, because grants are very, very restrictive to the point you couldn't even buy a light bulb with it if you wanted. So to have trust-based philanthropy, it is a new level of engagement as well as true trust within community. So I just wanted to add that. Continue on.
Oh, thank you, Ashley. So, I could spend hours talking with you about the outcomes of our grantees. We look at a combination of quantitative data points, qualitative storytelling, and listening to our grantees tell us about their experiences. For today, I'm just going to share a really limited snippet of outcomes from the community safety impact area. In 2024-2025, over 11,700 individuals were impacted under this priority. This includes free legal services to almost 1,300 individuals through Pegasus Legal Services for Children. The most frequently provided service was kinship guardianship, and they had a 99% success rate in retaining guardianship. Umoja ABQ partnered with Free Flow New Mexico to create the Women's Health Hub. Almost 1/3 of low-income individuals with periods report missing school or work because they don't have access to supplies. And Umoja ABQ now offers refugee and immigrant women easy, free access to these supplies. Paws and Stripes served 118 veterans and their families. 96% of the veterans reported improvement in PTSD symptoms. And we also remember that behind each of these numbers, there is a real human story. New Mexico Legal Aid shared a story about a client they represented who received an eviction notice after requesting really badly needed repairs to her apartment. She was a Section 8 voucher holder living with her spouse and children, and the landlord failed to make repairs to the AC, the plumbing, other facilities, just really leading to extremely hot summers and mold damage that caused the children to become ill. And after a final request for repairs, the client received a notice of termination of the lease. New Mexico Legal Aid filed a complaint against that landlord for failure to repair. The client agreed to a settlement that held the landlord accountable and gave her family the ability to move forward in safe housing. Best Buddies shared a story about Gianni, a Project Search graduate at Embassy Suites Hotel. When he first joined the program, He was quiet, hesitant to ask questions, but over the course of the year, he developed confidence to seek help and clarification, and built strong positive networks with both peers and supervisors. Um, Gianni completed 3 rotations with Embassy Suites, in the kitchen, the cafe, and with complimentary breakfast. And as a result of his work ethic and eagerness to learn, he received job offers from each of those departments. Shortly before graduation, he was formally offered a position as kitchen staff. His first official day of employment was May 2025, and he has continued to thrive in that role. So where our impact grants focus on long-term outcomes and systems change, but we also have grantees providing really urgent in-the-moment supports to our most vulnerable community members. In 2024-2025, our basic needs grantees served over 1 million meals, distributed over 17 million pounds of food, provided shelter or housing to 710 individuals, and distributed tens of thousands of hygiene supplies. But who are these 192,000 people that they're serving? They're Lonnie, a low-income disabled veteran with Parkinson's who hadn't seen a dentist in 20 years. He received a full set of dentures from New Mexico Dental Association Foundation. And they're Ellen, who is legally blind and relies on Meals on Wheels New Mexico for nutritious meals for her and her companion dog. It's a guest of the Rock at Noonday who shared that they went to the Rock during the hardest season of their life. And with access to meals, showers, and clothing, as well as the companionship and encouragement of the staff, they found hope. So when all of our donors, give to United Way, you are not funding just one program. You are feeding an ecosystem that supports the many, many partners working every day to improve the lives in our community. And with that, Ashley, I'm happy to take any questions that have popped up in the chat during our conversation, or I guess during my speaking.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for that lovely representation. If you all have any questions, please drop them in the chat box below, and I will make sure that Sarah gets your questions in. Feel free to add in any questions or take yourself off mute and raise your hand as well.
As we're taking a minute for those questions to come in, I will add into our grants process is community driven. We rely on community volunteers to evaluate our grants every year. That process is happening right now. We have almost 50 community volunteers paneling our grants this year. If it's something you're interested in and becoming involved with in the future, please go ahead and pop your information in the chat, and I would love to include you in this process next year.
Thank you, Sarah. That is a great addition. And we do have a question from Justine. Justine, go ahead.
Great presentation, Sarah, and thank you, Ashley. I love what you said about making the reporting easier for the nonprofits that receive grant money. Can you talk to how United Way looks at that reporting to ensure that the nonprofits are utilizing the grant money, one, and then two, utilizing it in the way that they proposed?
Absolutely. So all of our grants are now structured as general operating dollars. So when we fund an agency, we are funding them based on their overall program structure and goals that they describe to us in their grant application. At the end of each year, we offer either a verbal or a written report for our grantees, and we ask them to tell us, in the context of the application they submitted, what data points feel meaningful for them, if they have any anecdotal stories they want to share, and what they are proud of as an agency. And by looking at those data points, we can kind of cross-reference that with the grant application and get a really strong idea of the impact that that agency is having in the community. We then take those reports from our 70 or 80 grantees each year, and we aggregate them internally to help make them make sense to us, to pull out common data points, to pull out trends, and that really allows us to speak to the impact that our dollars have each year.
It's great. Thank you.
That's a great question, Justine. And I just wanted to take a moment to show you all this slide once again to let this sit in, because I know this is one of my favorite slides that I show to community to really get an idea of exactly how far our money can go. So whenever you hear of community investments, I want you all to envision this screen right here at this moment, at this time, knowing that your $20 to $100 or $1 million, however much you invest in this, it multiplies in different ways. And to Sarah's point, there is always a human story behind everything we do. And I'm going to do a final ask if are there any other questions for us today? If you do have any other questions, our amazing IR admin, Magda, has plugged in Sarah's information in the chat. If you would like to be a part of any of this, please let us know. And we would love for you all to join us next month for, drum roll please. Yes, our mission in motion will be we will be zooming in on Academies of Albuquerque. So, what if high school felt more like a launch pad for your future instead of just womp 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 sitting in a classroom, bored out of your mind, wondering when am I ever going to use this, right? Trigonometry, or I know I never used it in my career yet, or whatever else we talk about in high school. Discover how we are partnering with APS to reimagine education through career-focused academies that connect students to real-world skills, mentors, and opportunities. This is one you won't want to miss, and we hope that you all can join us. That is our time for today. Feel free to scan this QR code because we'd love to hear your thoughts if you have time now. If not, no worries. We will be sending you a follow-up email with this lovely link as well as information requested from today's presentation. With that, I hope you all have
Hey,
a
I'm at a
lovely
meeting. Can I call you in a bit?
I hope you all have a lovely rest of your Wednesday and take care. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.